I'm Deklan I'm the technical director at Comtact. My role is to lead our engineering team to success on some of the delightful challenges that we get within the infrastructure landscape. Typically, that could be anything from a data center going offline all the way through to an end user being unable to connect their device to the cloud. Yeah, so as the sort of landscape that people are looking after has increased over recent years to the cloud, what we've started to see is a culture shift towards software-defined networks. And typically, the root cause that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis for large outages is typically misconfiguration by humans, actually. So one of the biggest problems you've got is changes that are being applied to a network that don't follow a change control process and that have methodically been thought through. So yeah, humans are the biggest problem in all of this. I mean, if you look in the media at the moment, what you'll see is a number of organisations that have struggled with this. For example, British Airways, recently a network configuration change caused devastating effects to their global infrastructure, and it was one of their smaller offices. Again, a change that hadn't really been fully thought through, hadn't adhered to a change management process, taking out a global organisation, and ultimately, the biggest bit for them was not just the downtime they experienced, but the media's response to jump on the bandwagon, and point fingers at how bad the outage really was. So from a brand reputation point of view, they really hit their reputation quite hard on what was really, a trivial change that definitely shouldn't have taken down a global infrastructure. Yeah, so there's some of the key things that you can do. It's one of kind of three things that I'd always consider key to any successful network outage remediation. The first is having a proactive monitoring platform that is able to track changes as and when they happen and predict outages before they happen. So there's a lot of stuff that's happened with recent advancements with cloud computing and sort of the software providers that are developing the software for them. And you can actually build platforms now that will monitor the integral parts of your network and detect changes that are firstly unauthorized, but secondly, they may have been authorized, but are actually just a result of someone else's carrier, another network that you have to pass through, having issues, and then being able to remediate before you have a global impact. So that's the first bit. The second and very important part of this is to have a methodical change process. And ultimately, that needs to include very good documentation, but a board that understands the changes that are taking place and ensure that they're firstly proactively taking into consideration the changes that you're going to make to the network, but more importantly, that there's a rollback plan if a change doesn't roll out in the way that it's intended to. And the last bit is to have a good remediation team. So if all else fails, ultimately there are going to be things that take place on a network that are unavoidable. For example, an outage in someone else's network that you have to deal with, or an end user creating a loop, or something very similar. And it's making sure that you've got a team of experts on hand to be able to deal with those problems that have seen these type of problems before. Because what we see with a lot of our clients is they'll come to us with a problem that they've never seen, they don't know how to solve. But because we have the capabilities and a group of guys that have done this type of stuff before, we're in a position where we can remediate problems like that very quickly.